Welcome back to my studio. And now we're going to take our Faber-Castell dust-free white eraser and we're going to remove the lines around the grapes. I've got everything nice and dry. There's nothing wet on here. We just don't want to get any more paint on here because then the lines will never come off. We're going to do a glaze on top of the grapes as well. So we want to be sure and get this erased as best you can. More of the paint that gets on there, the less that's going to come off. So you want to do it now. And I like this eraser. It has, when you use it, some of the eraser does come off. However, it's not little tiny particles that you could never get out of your paper. So it does work pretty well. There's a bunch of these on the market. It doesn't have to be a Faber-Castell. It's whichever one your art store carries. Now here I got a little bit of the masking fluid. I'm going to just take that off right away as well. And when I erase the lines like this, the next step is we're going to go around and see if there's anything that needs to be cleaned up with our Eradicator, especially with grapes or a bunch of small petals like in hydrangeas or something, because you want to make sure that those edges are nice and clean. Sometimes these erasers will actually get almost a point to them. So if you're having a hard time getting something off, you can put it at a 90-degree angle like I am and see if that'll help get it off. And the larger the design, the longer this section takes, unfortunately. And I do erase it before I start painting because I want it to be as light as I can. But I want you folks to be able to see it too. So a lot of mine will be a little bit darker than what I would recommend yours to be. As long as you can see those lines, that's all the darkness you really need. Okay, we're getting there. Just going over to make sure I get as much of it off as I can. All right, now I'm going to just take this in and I'm going to grab a clean, fluffy brush. There we go. Just a little bit of a fluffy brush like that. And I use that to brush it all off right into the waste basket. Okay. Then none of it ends up in your paint or anything like that. Now I am going to also, just to make sure that I get as much off of it as I can, grab my mono eraser. It looks like a pen. It's got the white tip to it. And we'll see if we can get anything else off with this. It's just like the eraser we just used, but it's nice and small tipped, just like a pen. So you can get right on that line and not do any damage to your paper if you can help it. Now it sounds like I'm really pressing hard, but I am not. This is actually taking a little bit more of it up. I can see that it's helping. So you do want to remove as much of that line as you can before you start to paint, and then you don't have quite so much to take off at this step. Okay. I'm going to put that back where it's supposed to go. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I can find my fluffy brush. There it is. And just get that off my entire board and watercolor paper as best I can. Okay. So now I am going to take a look and see if I need to clean up any edges. Okay, we got a little edge here that we should clean up, and one up in here that we should clean up. So I'm going to take my Eradicator. Now I use Billy Shoal brushes. I buy them right at Rosemary & Co. They're the best price, but it's very difficult to get the Eradicator that Billy Shoal uses that's small. If I order an Eradicator on Rosemary & Co., Rosemary & Company, see, this even says small Rosemary & Company Eradicator. So that's one size, and Billy Shoal's is another. You can see the bristles are smaller from one brush to the next, and the smallest one is the Billy Shoal, and that one does seem to be my favorite. I like this one because I can get more of the paint off if it's a larger area. You always want to wet your bristles of your Eradicator. You want to make sure it's nice and clean. You don't want your brush completely dripping in water. So I always wipe it against my paper or my baby cloth. All right, so I'm going to take my Eradicator and you can do it from the outside like that, but you always want to wipe every single time in between. If you feel the brush needs to be wet, go right ahead and get it wet. So you can do it from the outside or you can do it from the inside and get that removed as well. Now when I wipe it with my cloth, I pull it towards the design. All right, so I can see I've got one right here as well. I'm going to just turn it around. Grab this right here. Also really works well that if for some reason you've got a dark line on the outside of your grape or petal or whatever it is, leaf, whatever it is that you're painting, and you want to remove that, you can use the Eradicator as well. All this brush really does is you're wiggling that paint away. It's softening the paint that's there, and it's wiggling it away, moistening it just enough. Okay, so I think I've got mine. I'll look one more time just to be safe. Looks pretty good. Okay, now if I had an issue where I wanted to remove some paint that had gotten into the paper or off the paper, in an area I did not want that paint, if I would drop my brush or something like that, then I am going to go to the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and I actually cut it into squares so it's more controllable. Now you have to be cautious with this item, because if you really scrub your paper with it, you're raising the nap of that paper, and it can be not as smooth as it needs to be or as it once was. Well, then to correct that issue, you can see if I can find my, there's one. Always have one sitting right here that I would put my clean paper down, paper cloth, take my smooth stone, just a round little, you can see it shine, smooth stone, and you rub that against the paper where it got a little rough. And you've got nice smooth paper that will accept paint again. Before, if you tried to apply paint with it being rough, probably wouldn't have accepted the paint, kind of like you got your fingers on the paper and there's oil there now and it's not going to accept that paint. So that's just a really good tip on how to keep your papers nice and smooth. Now the first thing I see that I want to do is I want to put another value in our dark areas. This looks like it's a little faded, so I want to add it. I want to keep those yellows if I can, but I want to put in a darker value as well. So one more value in there, which won't hurt anything, which is a good thing. So I'm just getting my brush wet. I haven't used it yet today. And I'm going to go in and pick up some of that darker green, but it's not really getting as dark as I want it to be, because we want to darken that area. I'm using my black actually that I have out on my palette, and I'm just picking up. Now this is wet on dry, so my brush is wet, but my paper is dry, and I'm darkening and outlining some of these areas that I want to stand out. Now, I'm certainly not going to cover the entire area. I've got some grays in there that I want to maintain. I've got some yellows in there that I want to maintain, but I do want this to show that this is a darker valued area here. So good, I got that in there the way I would like it. Now I've just cleaned out my brush, and I'm just going to soften some of that away. I don't want to get a lot of water on here at this point, but I do want to have it a little bit of a softer line on the inside. I don't want to have a harsh line. I mean, it is like a branchy area that we're painting here, so I also don't want it to look like it's outlined either. Okay, now I want to do the same thing on that little area. Just wanted to have a couple values in there. So I'm going to just go right around the outside area. Again, I just cleaned out my brush and I'm wiping some of it off. Just soften that inside edge. So it's darker, which is what I was going for, but I left some of the grays in there. Now when I say I'm wiping off my brush, I just want to show you I never do this and dry my brush that way, because all you're going to do is make those bristles spray out all different areas that you don't want them to go. You want to save your brushes, keep that point when you're cleaning them and you're drying them. You want them to have that point. That's the most important. So just keep it that way. So let's look at our reference material. There was a couple little grapes in here that I just put 2 values in. One grape is, well, I guess I do have a 3rd value on this one, but we can add more. But this one and this one. So there's just 2 values in there. That's really not enough. And I did that on purpose because I want you to be aware. Our first value is our highlighted, lightest value. And then our second value is going to be the next largest area to that highlight. And then our third is the darkest corners. Okay, now this one and this one and this one and possibly even this one seem to be fairly light to me. So we're going to glaze those and just give them a little bit more value the easiest way possible. But I want to add in, I don't think I need to on this one, but I want to add in some darker value. I'm going to just do it wet on dry. Now this one's darker right up in this area. And then it's also darker right in here where it meets that other grape. All right, so I got my darker value in there where I want it. I don't want to have this dry in a harsh line, so I'm giving the dark value that I applied a place with the water to soften into. If I don't add that in, it's going to dry real harshly. I'm just going all the way around that area. And you're going to have a real harsh line there, and these grapes aren't going to have a real harsh line. So I'm going to turn my board around so I can get at this side of that line and soften this edge too. So I just have the tip of my brush touching that color, but the rest of my brush is laying down and adding moisture into that area. Okay, so we got that softened in. Now, since that one's moist, we're not going to do anything to it right now because we want it to dry before we do anything else. So let's go ahead. I'm going to do this and this grape. And I'm going to take some of our water with our blending and glazing medium in it. And I just clean my brush here just in case it needed it. Start on this one. And I'm just gently laying down a coat of water right over the painting that we've already got on there. I don't want it to be dripping wet, and I don't want it to have puddles, but I do want some moisture in there. Got some dust in there, of course. Now I'm looking at the side. Oh yeah, I missed some areas here. So I'm just going back and making sure that those areas are damp. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I'm going to pick up my number 4. I'm going to clean it. And I don't want this to be real dark, but I do want to give it some value, some color to it. I think it's a little pale. So I want to get some more color in this. And by adding this glaze, we're going to accomplish that. Still keep having these dust balls in there. I don't like that. I even cover up my paint when I go and I'm done for the night. And I still keep getting that kind of a dusty area in there. I have a hair in this one too. I can't believe my luck today. So I'm pretty dark, so I'm just adding moisture at this point. So I want to move the paint I've got on there, and I don't want to darken it any more than I have. So I'm just moving the paint around. Actually needs a little bit more moisture yet. And that is called controlling your water. You want to control your water. Every single time you put your brush to your paper, if you control your water rather than your water controlling you, you're going to have a much prettier design painting. Yeah, to me that looks much better because it was so pale before. And yet it really wasn't this, which is our center of interest. So you want to be sure you get your values the way you want them. Now I'm going to go to this one and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add water to it. And then we're going to add a glaze. Now this is a small one, so you want to be careful with your water that you don't get too much in there. So that's something you want to keep track of. But you want it covered too. So now this, and this are your darkest grapes. This one happens to be the darkest that we've painted so far. So we need to darken these two for sure. So I got my water on there and I'm going to go to my darkest shading value here. Don't forget, the more water you add, the lighter that becomes. So if this is too dark in your opinion, as you apply this glaze, add more water to it right on your paper. Just be careful that you're going to want to pick it up and have no drips or puddles. There we go. I like that much better. This one seemed to be way too dark for me. So I'm going to do the same thing on the one right next to it, but it's far enough away with that masking fluid in there that I should be able to get away with this. Now we're not really doing any more detail or anything. All we're doing is adding a glaze to help darken it. This is the reason I love these pointed tips. Excuse me. You can get right into that corner and apply your paint and still lay your brush down here to get more value down there. And get back into that corner too. So they really are versatile brushes. There we go. I like that a lot better too. And once that masking fluid is off of there, it'll separate those two out. Now I want to do this one, and when this dries, we're going to do that one. So we're going to do this one and this one next. Now these are not the darkest, so we're going to go to a mid-value glaze. And that's something you really want to keep track of. Like I said, this is our center of interest. I got a drip of water on there, which I don't like, so I'm going to just take that off. Since this is our center of interest, and it bounces the texture and the darkness and the lightness is right in this center of interest here. And then as that's your center of your target, if you want to call it that. As that target expands, the next level of grape is going to be our mid value. And then as it goes out further, they become the darkest. So you want to think about it that way. Try to see if I added water to any of them, and I don't think I did. So we're going to do this one. No, we did this one. So, okay, well, we're going to do these two. Can't keep track of which ones I just did. Okay, so let's add some water on here. And again, we're not just adding detail at this point. It's just a glaze to get your values for each of those grapes where you want the values to be. Even though these are all individual grapes, you want to look at your values as a whole. So this is one item: center of interest, mid value, and dark value. So that's the way you want to think about this. Okay, so we're going to go to our mid value here to do our glaze on this one. Like that better too. Now what I did here is I went over, move my thick board so you can see me, I apologize, is I went over right here on that grape. So what I'm going to do, my brush is clean and has very little moisture in it. So I'm just picking up that paint where I went over. Now, since it's damp right there, and that's a pretty dark little corner, I'm going to just add in some dark in there to help separate between this grape and this grape. This is a separate little grape in there, and that's what you want that to look like. And I'm going to do it out here too. Now, this area might be dry, so soften that one in, and it is, I can tell. All right, so there we go. Just looking to see. I think if we stay away from that top edge, we can go ahead and do this one. It's a much larger grape, so you have to have a little bit more water, but you don't want it really, really wet at all. It's amazing how much you can miss if you don't look at the side. Think you've got that area completely covered, and you don't. So be sure and get in the habit of looking at the side when you're glazing to make sure you've got that water where you want it. I'm just trying to get some dust out of there. There we go. more spot that I see I missed. Okay, now this one's kind of a mid-value one too. Now we need a little dark in that corner too, so when I'm done with the glaze, I'll put that in as well. You always want to have your brush fairly wet when you're doing a glaze because that's what makes the paint move. If you don't have enough moisture and your paint's not moving, add more water. If it's moving too much, take some of the water out. Yep, we need some in this corner too over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go into my darkest value of shading. Hands out of this as best I can here and just add that corner in, and what that does is it separates it from the next grape over, otherwise it looks like one big area without that darkness in there. Alright, so I got those in there. Now there should be enough moisture in there to soften that, but I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to go ahead and soften it just to be safe. There we go. All right. So now as you look at it, you can really tell which ones have been glazed and which ones have not. This one needs to be glazed. This one, and this one all need to be glazed. So I'm going to do this one next. It's a smaller one, but that'll give some of those other bigger ones, the ones next to them, time to dry. Now this is a mid value because it's right next to the center of interest, but it's not in the center of interest. So we want to go to a mid-value shadow. I'm going to get right into the corners. Yeah, that does look a lot better. See how it pops your center of interest up? So that's a really, really good thing. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of this down in here. There we go. That looks better. And I'm just looking at my reference material and I want to see there's a little bit of a highlight there, but not a lot. And I think I was leaving too much of it. So that's always something you want to look at too. Okay. I'm going to do this one. Get some water on there first. There we go. Now, when we're all done with the glazing, we'll go back and add some highlights if we took some highlights out that we should have left in. All right, here again, this is the mid value, so I'm going to pick up the mid value shading to put on this glaze. Just turning my board so it's easier for me to get at. Okay, so I like that much better too, and hopefully you can tell that these values are making this bounce forward and this bounce forward. So now I'm going to go back and do that one as a glaze. Here we go. Make sure it's all covered. And this one is also a mid value, so we want to use that color in here as this glaze. And I'm going to put another dark value in those corners again. Looks like I could use it. There's 3 corners. You got this one here, this one, and this one. And they just look pretty bland, so we're going to add in some dark value there. The more values you can get in your paintings, the more realistic they will look. All right, just going to soften those edges. That one looks pretty good. This one could actually be a little darker. That's what painting is all about. You're adjusting your color as you go. There we go. All right. Got one more to do. Then I'm going to take a break and dry it, and then we'll remove the masking and see how we look. Oh, we need to do some shadows too though. And again, as I add this glaze of water, you want to put it on fairly gentle. If you press too hard, you're gonna pick up the paint and the detail and everything we've already done on the design, and you don't want to do that. Here we go. And this one's also a mid-value range. Did that wrong because I wanted this grape that's in the center of interest to go over this one. So I want to make sure that that's the way it looks. When we're done painting here. It's going to be hard because there's a pencil line right underneath it, but let's see what we can do here. Taking my Eradicator. And just creating that line where I want that grape to be. There we go. Now, that one could almost use some more color. And I did get some color out in here that I don't want real dark. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna dry this real quick and see if we need to glaze any more grapes before we move on. So I'll be right back with you.